I'm still thinking about this, the way that sensory experience is highly structured. The structure of seeing is very specific, and it has its particularities, and it has kind of prototypical experiences. And I've talked before about horizons and of vertical lines as kind of prototypical elements of that. And it has a kind of ordered structure around that, in terms of perspective, distance, the effects of seeing things from above, all those kind of completely embodied and organised structures of the visual experience, which, as I said, I suspect gives form and order and organisation to more abstract structures. And in the case of seeing and the visual experience, it gives order, I think, to, or an extension of it at least, gives order to a lot of kind of scientific and empirical kinds of language and kinds of thinking. One of the things I've just been thinking about just now is just in relation to expression, I suppose I should say, because we're not passive perceivers of the world, as I think I mentioned in a recent video. We are inactive, so we only our senses only work, if you like, because we are engaged with them, because we move through the world, because our eyes saccade, because our relationship to the objects of the world is constantly moving about as we move about, and that I think is only one of the fact that we move, I think, is only one of the if you like, the kind of more active ways in which we engage with experience, as opposed to this sense that we are passive. I know we're not really passive in terms of our senses, but it kind of feels like that sometimes. I think there's a number. I think we engage with the world actively through language, and this is something that I read recently in a book. I think it was the book The User Illusion, which is not a good book, but I think he talks about it there. It might have been somewhere else. And what he says there is that we tend to engage with the world either through language and sounds, or we engage in the world through physical action. So our hands reach out into the world and move things about. And I think, I would add motion to that. That when we move through the world, we're kind of manipulating the world around us and changing our relationships to it, and creating active. Actively organising it, but that organisation is structured. Moving has its logic. I don't suddenly teleport from here to the other end of this canal path. I don't appear in two places at once. In order to get from A to C, I have to pass through B. So my engagement with the world is as structured as my as the sensory modalities to which I seem to perceive the world. Language, of course, is equally structured. We call it grammar, or we call it syntax, and it has a kind of logic. It has a vocabulary. It has various rules of combination. So we engage with the world through moving in an organised and structured way. We engage in the world through language in an organised and structured way. We engage with the world. I think we do it haptically. Actually, I think there is a sense in which we are reaching out into the world and moving things around. Our hands have a key function, I think, in that. And I think related to that, I'm not sure if it is pushing it too far. I think we also engage with the world through a kind of making process. We can kind of we can engage in building and constructing devices, events, objects, art, for example, or scientific equipment, or whatever it may be. We engage with the world through a series of objects, which are partly purely instrumental, but also partly symbolic. And again, the organisation, the structure of that, the engagement with the world that the making of objects represents, isn't random. It's organised. It's consistent. It obeys and follows certain principles. And again, maybe it provides a template for organisation of concepts and the organisation of abstractions. I suppose where this is going is that the conversations that I've had with myself in relation to how the experience of sensory modalities, the structured experience of sensory modalities provides templates for the structure of conceptual information. I suppose where I'm going with this is that our active experience in the world, through language, through motion, through the manipulation of objects with our hands perhaps, and through the making of objects, is also highly structured, and again may provide templates for other kinds of less concrete information, organisation and processing.